Hello and welcome to Opening Bars. I think there are some things you can say about this song, this album, and this artist with some certainty. Some things that can be stated with reasonable surety, and some things where there is little clarity at all. Such as the song Naeem from the album I by Bon Iver. What we do know is that this song was released to the public in August of 2019 as part of Justin Vernon's fourth studio recording after a long period of 8 years since his Grammy win for Best New Artist, and 4 years since the delivery of his arguably most musically challenging album, 22 Million. I sometimes wonder what Oswald Spengler would say of I in Justin's series, sometimes referred to as the autumn recording of his artistic cycle. Will his next album truly be a return to the Good Winter, a translation from the French of his band name Bon Iver? It may be another 4 or 5 years until we even know. The song we'll be looking at for these opening bars is ostensibly named for a rapper friend, Naeem Juwan, also known by his stage persona, Spank Rock. The metaphorical lyrics, while suggesting a narrative, are virtually indecipherable. Maybe too many bad tokes, I don't know. Lines such as, "I fell off a bass boat, and the concrete's very slow." These may hold substantial meaning for Justin, but it seems like code or even quasi-Hopelandic to the listener. The beautifully crafted accompanying video by A.G. Rojas features a large floating rock. It too is also intriguing. A.G. is quoted as saying, "Naeem is concerned with the potential for intergenerational healing and how we choose to engage with that potential." I wonder, however, if it more underscores Justin's own journey of self-discovery and healing via the baptismal waters flowing from the rock, or might I say, flowing from Naeem the Spank Rock. I think too about Justin's larger vision of his connecting to self, embodied in the lowercase I to the lowercase I via a comma in the album's title too, although there is heavy irony here, for this album features an astonishing 36 collaborators. Perhaps the exploration of the musical expression of Justin's self is derived from a looking-glass musical self, as Horton Cooley might elucidate, to see oneself as you believe others see you. Metaphysics aside, let's look at the harmonic movement. We'll use the treble and bass clef here for this piano part, with no flats or sharps in the key signature. It might be obscured, but the tonality for this piece is essentially C major. We hear that chord for only the briefest of moments right at the beginning of measure 1 and measure 3, but it does feel more secure when the C4 is held as an anchoring tone through measures 7 and 8, and then more fully realized underscoring the beginning of the I Can Hear Crying section later on. The feeling of coming to rest, though, doesn't really occur for me until the very end of the piece, as though one is just floating debris on the tide throughout the composition, waiting, to finally coming to land on the shore. The chords here are C major in root position to a full D minor 7. Here it is as that first inversion F major triad over a D in the bass. Then we have C major to G major in first inversion over that B natural in the bass. The same G major again to an F sus2 over its third degree, an A natural, with the bass then moving to the F. And then C major, first inversion, to a D minor 7 with no fifth degree of its chord. There are fluctuations of this progression and voicings throughout the piece especially with the addition of guitars and such, but this is the heart of it. Let's look at the rhythm. You will notice that I have notated this piece in 4/4. I realize that others have coded it in 12/8, but as we have already covered in my lesson on Hold the Line by Toto, this may not be appropriate for how this song is realized in performance. I think you can clearly see, too, in Bon Iver's live performances, Justin and the band are counting in 4 right off the top. Each measure begins with a triplet, which is then held through the bar and then the next, except for measure 6, which revoices the F sus chord. The trick here is to feel the underlying pulse without any rhythmic reference point. Confusion is added too when the bass drum initially activates, as it seems disconnected from where the pulse may be imagined, a long triplet itself over cut time, which makes it all the more fascinating. Of course, when the band comes in more fully later in the song, the fog is lifted and the driving rhythmic pattern, especially on the snare, is firmly established. Try this as an experiment. Pretend that you don't have the luxury of the band counting you in, and just listen to the piano synth alone and pick out the 4/4 pulse. It will be challenging for sure. Now that you know the notes, you can concentrate on advancing specific piano techniques. One skill you can work on while practicing is releasing chords. It's odd that we speak so often of striking chords evenly and with precision, yet seldom speak of their release. I suppose many might use the damper pedal to coordinate that procedure, but as you know, I already feel like pianists overuse and misuse this pedal anyway. To release a chord, I exert an ever so slight amount of extra pressure on the keys already depressed, and then move both hands evenly away, springing lightly upwards. This need not be a big dramatic gesture, as you might sometimes see at the end of a grand performance, but it is a deliberate and controlled action. Try this for yourself, watching your hands closely, but also really listening to the sonic result. If you have the ability to record using MIDI or some other visualizer, try recording a series of triads up and down the keyboard, and then visually check your results. You may be very, very surprised at your inconsistency, even if you are really trying for an even attack and release. But you might ask, why is that technique important here? Well, for 2 reasons, I think. One, if you are playing a synth with the attack and decay parameters assigned, you will likely not be using a damper pedal. The control is in your hands and fingers. Don't be sloppy. It will show in your performance. If you're using a standard piano, you will be tempted to use the damper pedal between chords. Now, you would have to be very, very quick to do that here, and I highly recommend that you don't. That means you should cleanly execute the C major chord here before moving to the D minor 7. In addition, this press and depress before release technique will also help you control the triplet you are playing, ensuring that you don't rush the rhythm. So your pattern will be: strike the C major, press lightly down, spring release, strike the D minor 7, depress the sustain pedal, and then prepare your hands for the next chord in measure 3. Always practice slowly and deliberately to gain muscle memory of the technique. One suggestion to improve your overall musicianship would be to listen to the whole song. We have already looked at the essentials of Part 1, but notice too that there are subtle shadings of chord colorings and substitutions throughout this section, not only by the keyboards, but by Justin too when he plays the guitar. I think he's just using a CF, CC, CC, or possibly A minor, an F chord, and then a CF. We end up with some beautifully rich sonorities this way. There is only one other harmonic pattern of note, essentially an anchoring tone of C4 on a progression of C, C major 7 over an E in the bass, F major, A minor, and D minor 7. That's it. I just love playing along to this track. Maybe it's something you can try too. I hope you enjoyed your lesson today. Remember, don't just play notes. Make music. Until next time, thanks for listening.